So I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the people involved with my new, I think it's a 20-second book out. So this one is The Summit About Whitechapel. So Morrissey stood up in 2005. I'm obsessed with Morrissey. So he stood up in 2005 on stage and he said, "There's something about Whitechapel, not much, but something." And I was tossing and turning in bed last October it was, and I couldn't sleep. And I'm quite hyperactive anyway. I never really switch off. That the doctors said that's why I got diagnosed with the condition I did the other week. I think I told a few of you. Anyway, and I was laid in bed and I went, "Do you know what? I'm going to write a book on Jack the Ripper." And I woke the wife up, and yeah, she wasn't best pleased. But anyway, it's done. So it goes to the publishing company tonight. So it's out on a Kindle. So it's going to be released via Kindle July the 15th. Is that 3 weeks from now? 4 weeks from now? $4.95. And the paperback is going to be a little bit later on. So that's the paperback's going to be available for $14.95, but it's going to support two fantastic causes. It's going to support an autism charity, a new one called Vienna's Voice, which helps children in Teesside with autism, and the Frankie Lee Boo Fund, which is a lot of my books support that. It's a little boy growing up without his dad, so it's kind of a few quid for him for a rainy day. But I've got to give out a huge thank you to some of my absolute heroes. And I say heroes. Do you know what? I've met a lot of people the last five-ish years. So many people, famous, infamous, notorious, celebrities, boxers, footballers. But do you know what? Last year when I went to meet Richard Jones, who's in this book, the same week I had to meet with Martin O'Neill, and because he'd done a fall from the other one, and also Alex Reid, and I was more excited about meeting Richard Jones than them put together. And I've even got a picture of Martin O'Neill in my house. So there you go. So Richard, if you're watching, mate. So huge thank you to Lindsay Siviter, Richard Jones, Mick P. Presley, Edward Stow, Jack Whitechapel historian Gary Hutton, the East End poet Chris Ross, Paul Begg, another one of the outstanding ripperologists. Do you know what? These people, do you know what? I'm just a guy with a bit of energy and a dodgy hairstyle who's inquisitive and who's nosy. But these people are the proper Jack the Ripper people. I've obviously, I've spoke to them, I picked the brains, but there's a few chapters in there about the history behind jelly deals, pie and mash, West Ham. There's a chapter on West Ham United, a chapter on villainy, boxing. Jack Spot Comer was obviously from Whitechapel, Mile End Way. Growing up in the East End, then it was quite common known that a lot of people lacked the social skills to interact. So first thing was, Queensberry rules, and you never got the markers of Queensberry rules on the streets of the East End, let me tell you. Not unless it was in a boxing ring. Concrete jungle, and lots of fighters kind of fought their way out of the East End, because that was the only way there could really be summit. Not everyone could grow up and be like, your Michael Caine or Bobby Moore or something like that. But there's a lot of fighters. Your John H. Stracey's, your General Gardner's, I could go on and on. Jimmy Flint, the Whopping Assassin. God, you know, I've got a. It's like it's when you think you can normally, I can think of absolutely dozens off the top of my head, and when you know, I'm trying to think. There's lots of fighters from East London, your Kevin Mitchells and all this, but East London and the East End is very different. I used to think before this book, I used to think, oh, what, you're from Kensington, you're from Chelsea, so you're a Cockney, when it's not. So there's a big difference being a proper East Ender, proper Cockney, and to someone, say, born in you know, oh, again, just done the same thing. It's a big difference with someone being from Fulham. Do you know what I mean? It's you're not classed as the Cockney. You're not born within the sounds of the Bow Bells. Mary LeBeau, you know, many years ago that you could hear the bells from as far as Hackney, which is like 6 miles. But today, with all the traffic and all that, so that the sounds of the Cockney, so being a Cockney has got a lot smaller. But yeah, do you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure to do this, and it's a book that I'd have thought, do you know what? I mean, I was at 22 books, I think now. I've got a couple finished which aren't out. So this is one of the ones where I've just enjoyed it. I've just enjoyed sitting listening to people and, you know, hanging around with them or ringing them. And I'm going to go and have pie and mash for the first time with Gary Hutton. And me and Sean Atwood are going to be filming next month. I'm going to be sleeping in London for a week, hence this beard. So I think I've got about 4 weeks on it now. It's going to have another 5 weeks. Plus the hair's getting long. So I'm going to look like Charles Manson by the time I get down there. All the money I make is going to go to a registered charity in Middlesbrough. So I've got lots of different things on. I've got a book signing in Brick Lane. Lots of filming to do. Lots of people to see. But at the end of it all, I'm going to be, instead of going to a hotel this time, I've got a bag, a rucksack, I've got a roll mat, I've got a pair of Reebok Classics, and I'm going to be walking from one side of London to the other, and then just back. I'm just going to be like all day, probably 14 hours a day, and if I'm lucky, I'll find maybe a nice cardboard box, bit of shelter. I'm toying with the idea of maybe sleeping in Mitre Square, which is commonly known as the most haunted place of all the Jack the Ripper victims' locations. Probably wouldn't do it sober, but I reckon if I've had a bottle of wine, I might just sleep. But do you know what? So next from 5 weeks now, today, I'm going to be travelling down to London on a night bus like Francis Begbie in Trainspotting 1. Do you know why he's like, did you bring the cards? So on the night bus, and yeah, it's going to be lots of good fun. So I'm going to wake up in London about 6 in the morning and be like, we ain't in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. I'm going to be like homeless for a week. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, do you know what? It's for a good cause. All the donations I asked for, 100% is going to go to the autistic school in Middlesbrough, and my book is going to go. It's going to support 2 causes. I think I'm going to give 25p from each copy to wonderful causes. And I'm going to lots to meet different people. Last time I was with Alex Reid, Martin O'Neill. This time I'm going to be with Michael Parr. He's the actor. Is he going to be playing Paul Sykes? It's been in the paper 3 times in the national press that the press seems to think that he's going to play Paul Sykes, which the script has been written from my books. I'm not allowed to say yet because I would be in major trouble, but he's going to sleep out with me for one night. The very venerable Mr. Alex Reid is going to be sleeping out with me for one night. I said I'm going to do 7 nights. I'm going to do 7 nights on the street. But I think I might stay down there for about 11, 12 nights. Depends Depends if how much the wife lets me. But you know what? I can't think of a better place in the world. I would rather be homeless than London. You know, there's a saying in life which is something like, it was by Samuel Johnson: when you get bored of London, you're bored of life, because there's just so many different things to do. And normally I stay in the East End and a bit of the South and that, so I'm going to have a lot of time in the North, the West. I'm obsessed with George Michael. So I might maybe go and see, it might be a bit of a groupie and go and see where he's buried. I might go to his house. Yeah, there's lots of different sightseeing things, and you know, people like saying, "Oh, you should be begging and you should be having a bath." My mate Matthew Burke, he owns a boxing gym in Shadwell called Left Hook Boxing. He's letting me shower every day, and I'm too vain to be honest. You know, it's like the wife's like, "Jamie, you're the only homeless man ever who's probably going to go down with a suntan and bags full of hairspray and all this." But you know, I don't mind sleeping out rough, but I have to shower every day, and I'm not going to beg. Do you know what I mean? So, but other than that, I will be living the life of a homeless guy, and I will just be wearing my best clothes. That's just my look. That's my homeless look. This hair is going to be ridiculously long, as I said, in 5 weeks, and this beard's going to be out here. So yeah, listen, I just want to say a massive thank you to the lovely Lindsay Siviter, Paul Begg, Gary Hutton, one of the most interesting people I've met or haven't met. I've come into him a lot of years. The East End poet, Chris Ross, is an absolute diamond. I'm going to take you for pie and mash. I'm going to take you for pie and mash as well, Gary. I'll take anyone for pie and mash, to be honest. I'm doing really well on my diet, but I'm going to come back massive. I've got that much pie and mash to eat with these cockneys. Edward Stow, I love his channel. The House of Lechmere, give it a follow. Who else is there? Richard Jones, absolute hero of man. I just don't want to. Mick Priestley, I met you last year. And yeah, he's, you know, listen, I'm obsessed with Jack the Ripper, but these people are the proper people. You know, I'm just, I'm winging it really. I'm just kind of pretending. I'm riding on the back. These are yes, I know the story, probably inside out, but the people I've interviewed, like they've worked for like Scotland Yard and seen like pieces of evidence and do you know that kind of thing. So yeah, these people are as good as you get in the industry of Jack the Ripper. You know, I called one of the chapters in this book "A Business Which Makes a Killing." And so this book is, you know, I'm not going to go on and say I've solved the crime. You know, there's a lot of people far more intelligent and more switched on myself. But, you know, this is a look 134 years on. And obviously I'll let the experts speak, tell me their bits of, you know, why they like Whitechapel, the East End, all these different kind of things. But, you know, it's been an absolute pleasure to do. So I just thank each and every one of you for giving me your time. I know some of you are incredibly have a very hectic schedule. So, yeah, thank you so much, guys. And yeah, 5 weeks today, I'm going to be landing in London, totally homeless. And I'm going to be seeking my fortune like Oliver Twist. I'm going to be like, you know, doing different things all day, every day, filming. And at the end of it, instead of going to a nice hotel, roll mat, sleeping bag, nice corner out the wind if I'm lucky, and get a few hours sleep and then up again and do the same thing again. But as I said, I couldn't think of anywhere better in the world, really. A lot of my friends, they'll go to Spain or Magaluf or Tenerife, and I go to like Whitechapel every single year. I went twice last year, might even go a few times this year. But I'm going to really rough it this year. It probably won't be easy. There'll be a few hard times. There'll be a few moments where I'll think, what the hell have I done? But can't really get out of it. I've told everyone who listen that I'm going to do it. BBC Tees covering the story. On the back of me doing this, I've been invited to the Tees Valley Film Festival in October this year. Yeah, do you know what? My theory on Jack the Ripper, I give my theory in it. I'll tell you who the experts were back in the day. But it's what makes this book unique, and I think very different to any book that's never been out before, is we're looking at the Jack the Ripper murders from 134 years on today in 2022. So it's like, why the interest? Why is the bands called Jack the Ripper? Why is the films? Why is the documentaries? Why is the barbers Jack the Clipper? Why is the Jack the Chipper Chip Shop? It's why are we as human beings obsessed with this most horrific crimes against humanity that you could possibly even come across? But when Annie Chapman died, when she was the second Ripper victim, the next door neighbours were hiring the room out a penny to look at the blood. So is that any different to us being 134 years on, going into Waterstones and buying books? I think basically that was the start of murderabilia, if you like. But it's my opinion. A lot of my researchers, a lot of the hidden depths into London I've discovered. But why the fascination? Why the fascination with something that we're never ever going to really know the truth? Even if someone comes along and says, look, I've got this, like Russell Edwards did in 2007 with the Catherine Eddowes rag, which wasn't on her belongings when the police did it. But anyway, someone's come and people are like, oh, well, case solved. When a few was like, well, no, we watched the film, Michael Caine, Jack the Ripper, and I'm like, watch that. When I watched that as a kid, I was like, oh, case closed. Sir William Gould done it, and John Netley, his coach driver, done it. So we can move on and think. There's just so many different things, and since I discovered Jack the Ripper when I was about 10 or 11, I've went on to be obsessed with other cases like the Cray twins, like the Essex boys. Some of the books I've written about, like Paul Sykes, Lee Duffy, Roy Shaw's. Who else? Dominic Negus. But I'm always drawn back to Jack the Ripper. And it's always that, like, I never ever really get sick of, the wife. Most nights I'll be watching it and she'll go at me, oh, Jack the Ripper again. Aren't you sick of, aren't you sick of? And I'm like, well, not really, because he's never been caught and I'm getting close to catching him. But no, it's just a case that you can never really get sick of watching, or you can never get sick of digging deep. And this is what this book comes across. There's been 200 or maybe 300 books on Jack the Ripper, but this is, I'm just basically saying, look, I grew up in the Northeast. I got obsessed with it, and I'd like to think, when you read it yourself, I've kind of covered a few different angles that I've never read. I've read a lot of Jack the Ripper books, but I've always read them from back in the Autumn of Terror, back in 1888, where this book I've read, There's Something About Whitechapel, I've written it purely from the year 2022, looking back to 1888, which is 134 years on. So the pleasure, the privilege was mine. That's what Morrissey said as well on the end of a stage, before he said to his fans, and he said, I love you, please don't forget me. But yeah, this book's title is from Morrissey, Stephen Patrick Morrissey. So don't forget, I've got my Reebok Classics and I'm going to be walking all over London until I get blisters on top of my blisters. But, it's going to be fun. It's It's going to be laughter. As I said, I don't mind taking the mic out myself. I mean, look at my hair. Do you know, it's, yeah, I'm going to be putting it all on this channel. It's all for a good cause. So thanks for your time, guys. And please don't forget to give it a like and give us a subscription. 5 weeks today, I'm going to be off to London. It'll be all a big joke. I'll probably have a bottle of wine before I get in the bus. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be like, right, right. The joke, do you know what I mean? It's a week. You know, it's not one night or 2 nights. I'm going to be like, how am I going to get out of this? You know, the wife's like, no, you won't do it. What else am I going to do? I'm going to look pretty stupid. Do you know what I mean? And I'd rather just sit and suffer for a week than actually say, well, no, it's all right. I'm going back home, or I'm going to book a hotel. So I'll be speaking to you morning. I was going to say noon. So I'll be speaking to you every morning and every night in my sleeping bag, before I go to sleep and after I've woke up in the morning. So big shout out to Alex Reed. He's doing one night with me. Big shout out to Michael Parr, the Emmerdale guy. He played Ross in it. He's doing one night for charity. So fair play to them guys. Thanks for your time, guys. God bless.